some big endorsements came through yesterday for Donald Trump, and we're going to talk about the significance of those. Joe Rogan, of course, with the biggest podcast in America. I think hundreds of millions of listeners, right, Logan?
Yeah, I think about 11 million a day listen or more to Joe Rogan.
And, when
Plus,
Trump was on,
I think it surpassed 45 million just on YouTube.
So Elon Musk was on, I guess yesterday. They dropped it pretty early so Joe Rogan's been dropping a lot of shows this week, and they dropped it, and Joe Rogan made an announcement as well that went with it that he endorsed Donald Trump. But let's take a listen to a piece of that.
They're doing all the things that they accuse Trump of doing.
Yeah. Openly. Yeah.
I mean, the sheer number of hoaxes that the Democratic Party is pushing over and over again. And it's like, look, I understand like politicians are going to, exaggerate. They're going to misspeak, and they'll tell occasional, untruths, whatever. That's how it is in politics. But when you have deliberate, concerted, repeated pushing of hoaxes, you're like, wait a second, like, come on, man, this is too far.
And you're supposed to be the good guys.
You're supposed to, and you claim to be the good guys? I'm like, exactly.
You're supposed to be the progressives.
Yes, the Dems are like, oh, we're the good guys. We're the honest people. No, hang on. You can't claim to be the good guys. You can't claim to be the honest people if you're deliberately pushing hoaxes that have been debunked thoroughly.
Yeah.
Well, we're like even Snopes, which is a liberal thing, says it's bogus.
Yeah.
Like the Fine People hoax.
Obama just said that on stage.
Obama just said that.
All right. So again, and then Rogan ultimately endorses. Rick Renell is joining us right now, and I want to go right to Rick. So Rick, you are in Florida tonight for the event with President Trump. Tell us, you've been traveling the country really for over the last year, but extensively the last few months, and then these last couple of weeks. What are you looking for, and what should the audience be looking for tonight? I mean, I know the message for right now is that anybody who's listening to this right now needs to go and vote if they haven't already. But past that, when the polls close, when the voting is done, where do you think people should pay attention?
Well, first of all, let me just say to the ACLJ family and to all the listeners, thank you for dealing with my travels and lack of technology over the last couple of weeks. But it's been such a ride. I'm back now in Florida. I'm at Mar-a-Lago here with the president. And let's hope for a good night. I think, Jordan, what we want to watch for is some of those key counties in the blue wall states. So Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Let's look for those key counties, compare them to what happened in 2020. And I think we can make some really good assumptions out of those. I'm watching Wayne County, Michigan. That is where a lot of Arabs and Muslims live. Dearborn is part of that. And if the numbers there are indicating a close race rather than a blowout for Democrats, that spells disaster for Kamala Harris. That is a county that she needs to clean up. She needs to run up the numbers in Wayne County. And I think that we're actually going to be holding really well there, that she's not going to overrun that. Then you compare that with Macomb County, which is where Donald Trump will run up the numbers. When you combine those two, that's where the whole race is in Michigan. And so I'm going to be watching those two very closely. Obviously, later on in the night, Nevada and Arizona.
Seems to be, and we've talked to a lot of people who've been calling into the show, Rick, that this year especially, that of course there were lawsuits before, there were issues before, there'll be lawsuits today, there'll be lawsuits tomorrow, likely, but at the same time that the Trump campaign, the RNC spent a considerable amount of resources to make sure that attorneys are organized, poll watchers are organized in the battleground states at key precincts, and did that tough grassroots work that maybe we hadn't been as good at or had been caught off guard with the last couple of cycles or last cycle.
I think David Watley and Laura Trump at the RNC deserve a lot of credit for what's happening. They've done a phenomenal job of getting lawyers prepared. In Michigan alone, we've sued 10 times and won 10 times. And so that just shows you how aggressive our team is. The other side is, intimidating. Mark Elias put out a tweet basically saying any Republican lawyer who works for Donald Trump on election integrity issues should be disbarred. And that's unbelievable in America that we have that type of cancel culture. But that's what we're up against. That's what we're trying to defeat. These people who literally can't have a discussion They can't have disagreement. They don't like dissenting opinions. They want to rule us, crush us, cancel us, put us in jail just for having a differing opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rick, you guys have questions for Rick too?
Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of people last night I was watching as sort of the final promotions from a lot of celebrities started coming in. Obviously, you see these last second endorsements. Then you had sort of the backlash of people realizing, wait a second, there's a lot of people who backed Bobby Kennedy, celebrity-wise, and they haven't said anything about Trump. What does that mean? Does that mean Alicia Silverstone is now, and they go after, again, like you said, canceling people for just having, not even, for not saying anything, for just saying, hey, I encourage you to vote. Trey Anastasio from Fish put out, I voted. And you read the comments, and it was just people going, how dare you not say who you voted for? You know what that's doing. Silence is just supporting. Now I have another friend who has to remain nameless who texted me and said, you know what? You remember when Harris said, the Harris campaign said, don't vote or don't tell your spouse who you're voting for? She said, well, I'm doing that, just not the way that she thinks that I'm doing it. Because I'm voting because it was somebody who was supportive of Israel saying I'm voting for Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, this is what we're up against, this bully culture. They're bullying us. They want to make sure that there's no dissenting opinion. I mean, look no further than MSNBC. You can watch MSNBC for 2 hours straight and never hear a dissenting opinion. They all just get so emotional going after the next person and making it even more crazy and more radical. We got to return to the place where we're calm. We have differing opinions. We can be respectful. I'll tell you, I was in Detroit, and while I was there, I went to breakfast at the hotel before going out to meet with Arab and Muslim groups, and I saw Congresswoman Jayapal from Washington State, a member of the squad. And I went up to her and I was very disarming. And I just said, hi, greetings. It's great. I'm from Michigan. We're all here fighting. And I just want to introduce myself. Welcome to Michigan. And she couldn't have been nicer. And we disagree on a lot of different issues. She asked me how it's going with the Arab and Muslims. And I kind of winced and said, sorry, it's going really well. And we had a laugh. And that's what we have to get back to. We need to be able to disagree without trying to cancel and crush each other. And the left is terrible at this.
Yeah, and I think what happens too with the left is you can kind of, at the top level with the members of Congress and the people who are used to doing that every day, throwing barbs at each other, but then able to have discussions. It's people don't. That's kind of different though when you go and take it more personal to your neighborhood, because they're not used to that back and forth, throwing things out, nasty stuff about each other. And then somehow we're getting back to oh yeah, let's just have a block party together. Let's do a barbecue together, because they aren't politicians and they aren't used to the separation that I think we probably have to start talking about more and more into the future of, yes, we can be really tough. We fight it out until the very end. And then we have to come together as Americans.
That's right. And Rick, I did have a question for you, because I know you've been a part of a lot of campaigns. You understand some of the more nuances of what happens here at the end, where there's a lot of noise out there. But for the one thing that I've been looking at is that in previous years, typically a campaign, when they're on the defense, they're only going to the swing states. It's what you see the Harris campaign. They've only been in the swing states here at the end. You see the Trump campaign doing what is typically seen as an offensive move, going to places like New Mexico, going to sending J.D. Vance to New Hampshire, places that are hopeful, but not necessarily even in the toss-up category at that point. What does that tell you, and what does it tell the listeners about really the state of where we're at? I know everyone needs to go vote no matter where you are. Don't get comfortable, but are we seeing a little bit more offensive play from the Trump campaign as opposed to the Harris campaign?
We are. Some of that is just Donald Trump. He wants to go to Madison Square Gardens. He did a rally in Coachella, California. He did a rally in Virginia. He likes to talk to lots of different people. And he's not, one of these people that believes that you can't win New York or California, as much as a stretch as it is. He wants people to hear his message. He is one of these non-politicians that just believes that you can talk to people and sway them. I still believe that way. I think it's really important to be hopeful. And I'm hoping for a good night. But let me just reiterate, go vote, take everyone you know, and get out and vote immediately. Christians don't usually vote. got to prove them wrong this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has got to be this very strong message that, listen, if you are hearing our broadcast live right now, as you heard from Rick, you've heard from all of us, you have time right now to go and vote. In fact, I would tell you this. I wouldn't tell you this most days. Turn the show off, figure out where your polling place is, and go and vote and get in line. And if you can't get in line right now, try to find a family member later today who can help you or assist you get there. Whatever it is, you've got time wherever you are to go and cast that vote. And if you can bring people with you, that's great too. Rick, as always, we appreciate it.